Reality comes with a terms of service agreement you never signed. Sometimes it breaks its own rules. These aren't stories or legends. These are documented cases where physics, logic, and human understanding failed simultaneously. Each one investigated, each one verified, each one unexplained. Point 7. The hem. You're hearing it right now. That low-frequency hum in the background of existence that you've always blamed on distant traffic, appliances, or your own ears. But here's the disturbing part. 2% of the global population hears the exact same frequency, and they describe it identically without ever having met. In 1991, residents of Taos, New Mexico, started reporting a persistent low-frequency hum that penetrated walls, got louder at night, and somehow became worse when they used earplugs. Congress actually funded an official investigation. 10 scientists arrived with advanced acoustic equipment and confirmed what seemed impossible. They could record and measure the drone, frequency between 30 and 80 hertz, but they couldn't find any source. The same phenomenon appeared in Bristol, England, then Windsor, Canada, Auckland, New Zealand. Recordings from different continents, when analyzed by audio experts, matched perfectly. Not similar, identical. Scientists suggested everything from industrial equipment to ocean waves to mass tinnitus. But the sound continues during power outages, exists in the middle of deserts, and affects people with perfect hearing who've never had tinnitus in their lives. The truly unsettling part, people who can hear it report that once you become aware of it, you can never unhear it. It becomes the background soundtrack to your existence. Some researchers theorize we're hearing the actual infrastructure of reality itself, the cosmic equivalent of hearing your computer's fan, except the computer is the universe. Listen carefully right now. That subtle vibration you're suddenly aware of, you might be one of the 2%, but if that makes you uncomfortable, what happened in Oakville will make you question what's falling from your sky. Point 6. The Oakville Blobs. On August 7, 1994, instead of rain, the town of Oakville, Washington, was pelted with gelatinous blobs that made everyone violently ill within hours. This wasn't a one-time event. It happened 6 times over 3 weeks, and the Washington State Department of Health has the laboratory results to prove how impossible this should have been. The blobs were translucent, about rice grain sized, and had the consistency of firm jelly. When residents touched them, they experienced immediate flu-like symptoms: difficulty breathing, extreme vertigo, nausea, and blurred vision. One woman's mother had to be hospitalized after contact. Dozens of animals died. The entire town fell ill simultaneously, including people who never directly touched the substance. Microbiologist Mike McDowell at the Washington State Department of Health tested the samples and found something that shouldn't exist: human white blood cells, 2 types of bacteria, Pseudomonas fluorescens and Enterobacter cloacae. But here's what breaks biology. Human cells can't survive outside the body in that form. They certainly can't fall from the sky in perfect gel spheres. The military initially suggested it might be waste from airplane toilets, until someone pointed out that airplane waste is blue from disinfectant and doesn't contain living cells. The Air Force denied any weapons testing. The National Weather Service found no atmospheric explanation. 29 years later, the official report lists the cause as unknown, and Oakville residents still keep samples in their freezers, waiting for an explanation. Unlike Oakville's localized event, the next case involved 9 experienced hikers, whose bizarre deaths sparked a 60-year investigation that only deepened the mystery. Point 5. The Dyatlov Pass Incident. 9 experienced hikers cut their tent from the inside and fled into minus 30 degrees Celsius weather, wearing only underwear. That's not the mysterious part. The mysterious part is that when Soviet investigators found their bodies scattered across the Ural Mountains in February 1959, the evidence suggested they were running from something that defied every law of physics and human behavior. The tent was cut from inside with their own knives. Investigators confirmed this forensically. The hikers left in such panic that they didn't grab shoes, coats, or any survival gear, despite being expert mountaineers who knew this meant certain death. Their footprints showed they walked, not ran, in a calm single file into the darkness. No other footprints were found. No avalanche debris. No signs of any external threat. The first 5 bodies showed death by hypothermia, but the last 4, found months later, changed everything. Lyudmila Dubinina's tongue and eyes were missing. Alexander Zolotaryov and Dubinina had major chest fractures that forensic experts said required force comparable to a car crash, but with no external wounds. Their clothing contained radioactive contamination with no source. Witnesses in the area reported seeing orange spheres in the sky that night. The Soviet military tested the bodies 3 times. The cause of death remains officially listed as compelling natural force. In 2020, Russia reopened the case with modern forensic technology. Their conclusion? An avalanche. Except avalanche experts immediately pointed out that the slope angle was too shallow. No avalanche debris was found, and it doesn't explain the radiation, the missing soft tissue, or why experienced hikers would flee without gear. The lead investigator admitted, "We still can't explain their behavior. Whatever happened on that mountain made 9 rational people choose certain death over facing it. But at least they left bodies to investigate. The next case left only a note and 2 lead masks." Point 4. The lead masks case. On August 20, 1966, a boy flying a kite found 2 electronic technicians dead on Ventang Hill in Brazil, wearing formal suits, lead-eye masks, and with a note that read, 1630 be at agreed place. 1830 swallow capsule. After effect protect metals. Wait for signal mask. No capsules were found. No cause of death could be determined. And what happened before they died suggests they knew something we don't. Miguel Jose Villana and Manuel Perez da Cruz told their families they were going to buy materials for work. Instead, they bought waterproof coats and a bottle of water, took a bus to Niterói, and climbed Ventang Hill. Witnesses saw them with 2 other men who were never identified. A local couple reported an intense orange glow above the hill that night, describing it as a ball of fire that hovered silently before vanishing. The lead masks were homemade, the type used to protect from radiation. The men had no injuries, no signs of violence, no poison in their systems. Toxicology came back completely clean. Their bodies showed no trauma. They simply died sitting upright, wearing protection from something that left no trace. Police found similar masks at Viana's home workshop, along with books on scientific spiritualism and electrical experiments. The investigation revealed they belonged to a group of scientific spiritualists who believed they could contact other dimensions through a combination of electronics and psychedelics. A similar death had occurred months earlier. Another electronics technician, Hermes Passos, found dead under identical circumstances. The police never found the capsules, never identified the 2 other men, never determined what killed them. The case remains open. The note suggests they expected something at 1830. Whatever arrived left no evidence except 2 dead men, who knew to protect their eyes. Speaking of unexplained deaths, the next one was caught entirely on camera. Point 3. The Elisa Lam case. The Cecil Hotel elevator footage shows Elisa Lam pressing all the buttons, hiding in the corner, stepping out to look down an empty hallway, making strange swimming gestures with her hands, and appearing to talk to someone who isn't there. 4 minutes of bizarre behavior that ended with her body in a water tank that should have been impossible to access. The footage is disturbing. The explanation is worse. On January 31, 2013, Elisa Lam entered that elevator for the last time. The security footage shows her pressing multiple floor buttons, but the elevator never closes its doors. It remains open for nearly 4 minutes, which elevator experts confirm shouldn't happen. Unless someone outside is pressing the button, she peers out, looking for someone, steps out, then back in. Her hand movements become increasingly erratic. Then she leaves, and the elevator immediately begins working normally, closing and visiting each floor she selected. 19 days later, after guests complained about low water pressure and a strange taste, maintenance found her body in a rooftop water tank. The tank was behind a locked door that triggered an alarm that never went off. The lid was heavy enough to require 2 people to move it. She somehow got inside, closed it behind her, and drowned. Toxicology found only her prescribed medications. No drugs, no alcohol. The police called it accidental drowning, but couldn't explain how she accessed the roof, opened the tank, or why the elevator malfunctioned, only during her presence. The Korean elevator game, Urban Legend, matches her button sequence exactly, a ritual that supposedly transports you to another dimension. Coincidence? The Cecil Hotel had 15 documented deaths before Elisa. The area some call America's suicide capital. But unlike a single hotel's dark history, the next event left physical evidence across 2,150 square kilometers. Point 2. The Tunguska Event. At 7:14 a.m. on June 30, 1908, Something exploded above Siberia with the force of 1,000 Hiroshima bombs, flattening 80 million trees in a butterfly pattern that shouldn't exist, leaving no crater, no fragments, and genetic mutations that persist 115 years later. The official explanation keeps changing because each investigation reveals new impossibilities. The explosion was visible from 700 kilometers away. The pressure wave circled Earth twice. Seismographs in London registered what seemed like an earthquake. For 3 days afterward, the night sky across Europe and Asia glowed so bright, people could read newspapers at midnight, 10,000 kilometers from the blast site. But when the first scientific expedition reached the area in 1927, they found something that violated physics. Trees at ground zero were standing upright, stripped of branches, but not knocked down. Trees further away were flattened in a perfect butterfly pattern radiating outward. No crater, no meteorite fragments. Modern investigations found microscopic spheres containing iridium and nickel in tree resin from 1908, consistent with extraterrestrial origin. But they also found mutations in local plant DNA that shouldn't exist from a simple explosion. The growth rate of vegetation tripled. Some trees show growth rings that are radioactive only for 1908. Scientists have proposed everything from antimatter to a miniature black hole to a natural nuclear explosion in the atmosphere. In 2013, a team analyzing the trajectory concluded that whatever it was made a controlled change in direction before exploding. Meteorites don't change course. In 2020, Russian scientists suggested it was an iron asteroid that grazed Earth's atmosphere and escaped back to space. But this doesn't explain the genetic mutations or the standing trees at ground zero. Every expedition has added mysteries rather than solving them. Remember the Dyatlov hikers fleeing from something invisible? Tunguska left 2,150 square kilometers of evidence that something impossible happened. But the final case is happening to you right now. Point 1. You're missing time. Check your phone right now. Look at the time. Now try to account for what you did exactly 37 minutes ago. Not approximately exactly. You can't. Neither can anyone else. Researchers call it temporal discontinuity, and the average person loses between 5 to 10 minutes of conscious experience every single day that they cannot account for, even when actively monitored. Dr. Robert Steinberg at Johns Hopkins studied 500 participants wearing continuous monitoring devices for 30 days. Even with constant tracking, GPS, heart rate accelerometer data, subjects consistently had periods where they couldn't explain their actions or thoughts for specific 5-10-minute windows. Not forgetting complete absence of experience. The monitors showed they were active, moving, functioning. Their conscious memory showed nothing. The phenomenon scales up. On November 17, 1986, Japan Airlines Flight 1628 experienced it collectively. The crew reported seeing lights over Alaska. Then suddenly, they were 100 miles from where they should have been, with no memory of flying that distance. Their instruments showed 17 minutes had passed. To the crew, it was instantaneous. Air traffic control confirmed the plane disappeared from radar for exactly 17 minutes, reappearing far from its trajectory. The truly disturbing part, when researchers tell people about their missing time with proof from monitoring devices, subjects often suddenly remember fragments, but the memories feel artificial, like their brain is creating them in real time to fill the gap. Stanford neuroscientist Dr. Sarah Chen suggests consciousness might not be continuous, but refreshes in cycles, like a computer monitor. The gaps between refresh rates are edited out of our perception. We experience existence as smooth only because our brain deletes the buffer periods. Every conversation you've had today has gaps you'll never notice. Every drive to work, every memory you think is complete. Those 5-10 minutes aren't lost. They never existed in your conscious experience. The simulation doesn't render every frame. So reality has a pattern of breaking its own rules. A drone that shouldn't exist but does. 9 hikers choosing death over facing something. A forest flattened in an impossible pattern. Time you're missing right now. These aren't perception errors. They're system errors. And that's how spaghetti untangles another mystery of the universe. See you in the next episode.